everyone. I'm really happy to be here. This is my first time in DjangoCon and my first time in Philadelphia. Yeah, so just a little bit more about me, I guess. I work in Vancouver, Canada. I work as software engineer for Sony Pictures. And I'm also a mentor for Ladies Learning Code. It's a non-profit organization. We have beginner-friendly workshops for women and children to learn how to code. Today I'm talking about code review and how to make the most out of it. So let's think a little bit about this phrase, code review. Two simple phrases, almost like a buzzword. Programmers write code, people review it, write comments. To me, code review, especially when I just started, it's extremely daunting. Feels like everyone is so eager to point out things. Every line, every letter, even the empty space is scrutinized. People would tell me that what I was doing is wrong, it's not best practice. I didn't always know what the best practices are. They would tell me I need to reorder my import statements, should be grouped certain way, alphabetical order. One time I was told my implementation was completely wrong. The whole thing needs to be rewritten. I felt like such a failure. I made so many mistakes. Maybe I'm not good at this. Maybe I shouldn't be a programmer. There was one time I was told I should align my stars. So I did. I aligned my stars in the most literal sense. My stars in my JavaScript file, I made them line up perfectly. But I know it was wrong. I'm sorry I did this mistake. But was that worth rejecting a pull request for this? Spending a few extra minutes, create a different pull request, delete a few spaces, asking people to review this. I'm not sure this is really the point of doing code review. Very often during reviews, people are arguing, developers thinking that their own way is the best way and nobody wanna back down, causing delays. We also have team members who didn't prioritize doing reviews, or rather were working on their own code, finishing their own task. And as a result, codes aren't getting reviewed on time, couldn't release the features we wanted, we missed deadline, everyone's disappointed. Code review can really be a negative environment. Gotta start asking, is this worth doing? We know it's best practice, but it's also a source of your daily stress. Cost delays. Maybe we don't need it. Maybe you could just trust our developers. They know how to write good code. Shouldn't they be writing the best code all the time? So we don't need this, maybe. I don't know. Before we can answer whether this is worth doing or not, I think it's really important to know why we even do it in the first place. Code reviews is not just about the readability, it's not just about following standards, conventions. It's also not the place to evaluate someone's skill. It's not the place to determine who's the good programmer or who's the not as good programmer. You might come with assumption that senior developers do not need their code to be reviewed. So you only scrutinize the newcomer's code? That's not the point. Think of how negative it can be to be a new team member. The real goal why we do code review in the first place, because we care about quality. Next question. So what's quality code? I know some of us will start thinking about coding standards, Part 8. But there's more to it. There's more things that determine quality than just standards, conventions. You want to sniff out those code smells. Things like magic numbers, duplicated code, overly complicated functions. There are so many things to look out for. Does it have unit tests? Is there enough code coverage? Documentation is also important. You want to look for that. Care about performance. If the algorithm can be optimized, maybe. What about security considerations? There's just so many things that determine the quality of the code. Don't be fixated on Part 8 or coding standards. The real goal here is that we don't want to introduce technical debt. We want to make sure it's easy to maintain. And that's why we are willing to spend this extra time, extra effort doing the reviews for quality. So, now we know it's needed. We know the goals of reviewing code. So now you're reviewing code and you see something that should be fixed. You see something that could be improved. So speak up. Tell the developer that I think there's a better way to do things. And help them. Help them be better in coding. Oh, sorry. Oh. Does this work? Okay. So, let's start by providing code samples. Show them how to refactor the code, maybe. And you may want to offer how to do pair programming with them if it's quite complicated. Maybe they're new at this and they didn't really know much. Provide learning resources. Maybe you went to PyCon, you went to DjangoCon, you learn about a lot of new things. And your coworker didn't. You should share the knowledge so that they could learn and their next code could be better. Part of doing code review is for the purpose of learning and knowledge transfer. I think some of us might have missed this goal. I know I did. I thought that in the beginning I'm not qualified to do code reviews. I didn't know how to comment. But the reality is by participating in reviews, participating in discussion, asking questions, reading lots of new code, I get to learn so much. I really become a better programmer through code review. If there's ever any confusion, code review is the time to ask questions. When programmers just finish writing it, they know how to answer your questions. Don't wait 6 months to ask, what is this code about? This is known as increasing your buzz factor. You always want to make sure that there are other people in the team that knows about your code. So, really, code review is important. It's essential. If you care about quality, care about knowledge transfer, you wanna your team member to be more experienced, definitely have code review process because learning is so valuable. I just wish that we don't be fixated on the term review. It's really not just about scrutinizing, commenting, pointing out mistakes. It's really more than that. Think of this process more like a conversation among friends, among colleagues. It's not about judging. So we know we need this. We know we need to have this kind of conversation. We want to learn. We also know it could be negative. How do we make this positive? How do we make this great again? Start with having some empathy. I know that some of us may be okay being told you did something wrong, you need to fix things, but not everyone can handle being scrutinized all the time, every day. Having empathetic comments, those comments will be well received by everyone. Before jumping to read reviews, read codes, at the very least try to understand the context. What is this code doing? Read the title at least to avoid any misunderstanding. As programmers do, make the effort to create smaller merge requests. Make it easier for people to review your code. And oftentimes when we review, we are really quick to point out mistakes, to criticize. But when the code was good to begin with, nothing needs fixing, you even learn a thing or two, often we say very little. We say nothing. We say +1. I think at the very least, say thank you. Don't take this for granted. I know it's the programmer's job to write code, but you could still show appreciation. So, a lot of projects probably have a contribution guideline. I think you should also have a code review guideline, letting people know what's expected out of this process. So, what should go into the guideline? Again, coding standard, you should have that. It's not enough as a guideline. It's a good start. Have a code of conduct. We are bound to excellent code of conduct here at the conference. It shouldn't stop when you go back to your company, to your private organization. You should impose that in your own company. Think about what to do when there's conflict among developers. Each team might handle this differently. Specify a timeline. You may want to impose that the review gets done within a day or two, but no longer than that. Also, good idea to have a list of backup or alternate reviewers. Like, don't limit reviewers to be just the same people all the time. Include outsiders. They could offer you extra additional perspective. So I think we know a little bit more about this whole process of reviewing. Let's do a little bit of practice. So this is an actual code that I found in our legacy code, and I'm maintaining it. But there's two simple lines. It's os.system, rm-rf, some file name. By the way, we notice it's not following standards. Perhaps there's a better way to format strings, right? This is the old way. We should use format. Sure, I change it. So now it's good. Pylon is happy. But I still don't understand what these do. I asked some questions. What is os.system? It's a way to invoke command line script from Python. So while searching, I also found out that I'm supposed to be using a different library. This is not desired. Great, I learned new things. So I changed it. So now we know what it's doing. It's executing rm-rf. We're trying to delete the file, and if there's any problem with it, we don't care. I don't know. I'm not comfortable with this. What if somebody forgot to pass in the file name? There should be a better way to delete files from Python. You could do os.remove. Same package. Why resort to executing command line script? If there's a problem, I want to know. I want to do a try-catch exception from this. So it looks better now. I'm much more comfortable with this than the previous code. So pass. Let's ship this now. So, thank you.
I think we have time for one or two questions if anyone wants to step up and ask a question.
Hi, thanks for doing the talk. I have a question. When you're doing code reviews, do you work from like a style guide? I mean, do you just use like, say, PEP 8 standards, or do you develop internal style guides for coding? Because that's something like my organization is definitely grappling with right now.
Yeah, it's really different. We try to use PEP 8, like I've used PyLint, and I also like use the styling that comes with PyCharm, but every team members have their own preference. Like I have team that prefers to use underscore, and I have teams that prefer to use like camel casing. So everyone has their own preference. It's something to be discussed with your own team. Did I answer your question? Or?
Sort of. I was really more curious. Do you try to come up with a style guide internally when you have that conversation with your team? Mm-hmm. Is there do coding style guides work? I guess is kind of my question.
It works if people are made aware of it. Like we've worked in a really large organization, sometimes knowledge got lost. Like we have something written about this, and if people are not aware of it, they don't read it, and we ended up having to correct people during reviews, telling them, hey, look, we have this guideline, go follow it.
I have tried to offload some of the code review work that I need to do for my team to kind of the entire team by kind of requiring them to get approvals on their merge requests. But I find that a lot of times I'm not and I need to ask, and I'm not exactly sure what it is, but the developers on my team don't often provide a lot of feedback to each other. I just see a lot of yep, approve. Sometimes find some things. But do you have any tips for like kind of, I mean, this code conversation idea I think is going to help, but just tips for like encouraging developers to give each other constructive feedback and kind of establishing that culture of, look, just because you're giving someone feedback, you're not attacking them. Like this is an opportunity. Yeah, just kind of tips on.
I think for myself, it starts from me. Like I know in the beginning that's all I do. I say, okay, approve +1, right? But throughout time, I realized that those feedback are important. So when I do review, I do spend extra time trying to help. Like, I know this work. Is there better ways? Let's do a little bit of more research. But the thing is, not every team might have that luxury of extra time. So it's something to be considered, you know.
Do you have a tip on getting people to just even like have time in their day where they do it? Because a lot of times they just want to work on their own stuff. I don't want to spend time reviewing other people's stuff.
Yeah, I impose this for myself, like do it at least 3 times a day. First thing in the morning, before lunch, or after lunch, before I leave. Just make sure something gets done, and really like realize that you need their help, they will also need your help, right? And when you set good examples, people start realizing that this is how it should be, you know.
Do we have one more quick question? No?
I was wondering if you had any thoughts on how to scale this way down to a very small team, like say 3 developers.
Yeah, when you have 3 developers and you're gonna be pushing a lot of code all the time, and yeah, I don't know, we struggle with this too. I also have a small team, and it's just the same people again and again. Really try to get external reviewers if you can, like different team within the same company or something like that, just so they're not overloaded. And if anybody, they've been assigned too many reviews, they should feel free to say, I'm sorry, I cannot do the review today. Maybe you want to ask somebody else to do it. So,
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mariatta.
thank you.